Welcome back to the channel. My name is Douglas, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at live mode versus programs, how I use these today, and how my use of these has evolved over time. I'm going to try to play you some sounds as we go through this video just to mix it up a little, keep it from just being a 10-minute monologue of me talking about the features in the Nord Stage 4. But welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I have a ton of videos on both the Nord Stage 3 and the Nord Stage 4, as well as the Nord Grand 2 and a bunch of other keyboards. My goal is to teach you how to use these powerful keyboards in easy to follow videos. I do have an essentials training course for the Nord Stage 4 and a masterclass for the Nord Grand 2 video training courses on my website. Bunch of sound packs for both these keyboards. So if that interests you and you're new to this world, feel free to check those out on my website, DSoundman.com. But let's talk about live mode. Sorry, I poked you. Live mode versus programs. Now, even though I have a Nord Stage 4 sitting in front of me, this is going to apply to any Nord line that has live mode. So Nords have programs, and then most of the Nords actually have live mode. So let's take a look at the control surface right here. We have these program buttons right underneath our main screen here. Now, to the left of that, there's this live mode button. This button might be positioned differently depending on which Nord keyboard you're using. On the Nord Stage 4, we have 8 program buttons, and we have 8 live mode buttons as well, or live programs. So when I started with the Nord Stage 3 years ago, I lived in live mode. That's what I used when I played at church, anytime I played live, and even in my home studio, I would use live mode to build out programs, get them to the way I wanted them to be, and then play them with the band. Now, over the last couple of years, I've started to move away from live mode a little bit and use programs more, and I'll talk about why here in a minute. So let's just talk first about live mode versus programs and what are these. So when the live mode button's not lit, we're in program mode, and these buttons here select programs within a current bank and page. I can hit any one of these buttons. Seamless transitions. And then we can move pages. Notice how the last sound's still sustaining. So basically, a program is a saved instance of everything we see here: the organ section, piano section, synth, effects, things like splits, layers, and even some settings like transpose and some of the menu settings are saved to a program. That program is saved to the memory, and when you turn the keyboard off and back on again, it's still there. Every time we go to that program, even if we're on the program, we change a setting, and we press that program button again, or we scroll to that program again, it's going to recall whatever was saved to memory. So programs are going to, every time you load them, they're going to call what was saved in the memory. If we make changes, we have to store it if we want to save those changes to the program. If we don't store it and we move away and come back, we're going to lose those changes. Now, on the flip side, live mode, at the core, it's the same thing. It's a saved instance of everything we see here on the panels. But the difference is every change we make is instantly saved to that live program. So I'm on live program 3, and I have a B3 organ here. I turned the Leslie from slow to fast, and if I move away or go to a regular program, come back into that live program number 3, it's exactly the way I left it. It saved that fast rotary speed. If I change drawbars, turn the chorus on, move away, come back, it's the same. So every change you make, no matter where it is, effects, your splits, anything like that, if you leave and come back, you don't have to store. It automatically saves every change that you make instantly to that live program. So when we look at the use of programs versus live mode, if you've been using live mode for a while, you know that any change you make, if you were to bring in new presets, you're going to lose the changes you had before. There's no going back to it unless it's something where the undo function works for it. But for the most part, any change you make, you can't just recall live program 3 and get what you had before. It's gone. As soon as you make changes, it overwrites what was there before. Compared to a program where you can make changes, you can come back, reload that program, and you're fine. So for me, I've been using live mode for a long time. I know these things and I know to be careful when I'm in live mode. But if you're new, or for example, maybe you volunteer at church and you do a rehearsal on Wednesday, Thursday night, somewhere in there, you rehearse these songs with sounds that are in your live program slots. And then you come back on Sunday, maybe youth groups come in on Saturday, they've used the same thing, they've made some changes. If you're in live mode, that's the way they're going to be on Sunday when you go to play, and it may be different than what you rehearsed. Whereas if you're using programs, you can just call those programs back up again, and you know every time that you call that program up, it's going to be the same as basically what was stored to the keyboard. Yes, I know there could be an instance where someone could mess it up and store it, overwrite what you had, but you can do memory protect and things like that to try to avoid those types of situations. So again, when I was starting out with the Nord Stage 3, I lived in live mode. I used that for almost every situation. And I would, once in a while, I'd save those live programs to actual programs just to back it up in case I did something that actually messed it up. But the way that I use it now is it's my scratch pad for building sounds. So I'll come into a live program and I have a sound that I want to make. And I can tweak, I can do effects, and if I accidentally turn the keyboard off and back on again, everything's there. So it's essentially my whiteboard that I build sounds with. When I'm happy with them, I'll save those to programs. And then when I'm playing live, I've kind of started to use programs more because I know that every time I call that program up, I'm getting exactly the sound that I'm expecting for that particular program. This is especially true if you don't play every Sunday. You have your favorite sounds, and then other people, sometimes churches have multiple teams, and so you're using the same keyboard, but then it's different people, different Sundays. Programs give you a little bit more confidence that the sound you're calling up is going to be the sound you get every single time. So I hope that helps in understanding the difference between live mode and programs and when you might want to use each one. If you're new to the Nord Stage 4, live mode can be a little bit confusing. And as I've trained people on how to use the Nord keyboards, I've found it a little more difficult to teach people how to use live mode and the things to be careful of. If you're just starting off, it's easier to start with using programs and then slowly start to work in live mode if that's something that you like to do. So I'm curious how you guys use live mode versus programs on your Nord, whether it's in church, with a band, however you're using your Nord keyboard. I'm curious, do you use live mode or do you tend to use programs more? And again, if you're new to all of this, hopefully this gives you a little context into the difference between live mode and programs. I have videos on my channel of both the Nord Stage 3 and the Nord Stage 4 using live mode, how to save live programs in and out, as well as how to actually build live mode sounds from scratch. So if you're curious, check those out on my channel. And if you have any other questions, feel free to throw those down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching. Stay inspired. Keep making that music.